under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we have the minutes from January 21st regular council meeting and the executive session. You have any changes? If not, we would entertain a motion to accept those.
So we had the one change to the regular meetings. Does that count as part of this, or?
The new verbiage is in this one to be signed.
Okay.
So it was added that Becky had abstained.
Okay, so we have the updated one since the packet came out.
Correct.
Okay. You may want to make a motion then to accept the minutes from January 21st for the regular and executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Rick, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Minutes are passed. Any changes to the agenda? We're not gonna have a city hall project update tonight. We have a few people taking a couple different items, but I don't have any changes to the actual items.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Rick, seconded by Robin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. Agenda is approved. Yes, an open forum. Is there anybody here tonight that would like to address council? All right, hearing none, we will move on to committee reports. Fire Relief Association, Mr. Ebensteiner.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The Fire Relief had their annual meeting on January 22nd at the Fire Hall. Kind of one of those unique meetings where approved the minutes from the prior annual meeting, talked about some new members, approved the treasurer's report, went through the committee reports, talked about their entertainment. They do have a steak fry and a Christmas party each year. Talked about some of the aid. Bylaws, no updates to the bylaws. Talked about their big, as they raise money, their calendar, so kind of talked about that process and how it went this year and some of the contributions that they have received. They did discuss para once again, so they discussed kind of moving forward with that, so you'll see some things coming back this year as they progress through that process. Talked about a benefit level increase, so they did discuss increasing the benefit level from 5,000 up to 5,300. So they're going through the parts that they would handle, and then you would see that some of the subsequent meetings as well as you approve. Then they had elections for the secretary, president, and trustee, and did some of the normal official depository things that you do at the annual meeting.
All right, thank you very much. Budget and Finance, Robin?
Budget and Finance met on the 23rd of January. We looked at the work comp renewal, which is down quite a bit from what our planned spend was. We reviewed our investment portfolio, reviewed standard financials. Past due utilities were similar to where they have been running, and that was about it.
All right. Any questions for Robin? Awesome, thank you very much. Fire Board, Rick?
Fire Board, met January 27th, last Monday. Besides the usual, the payment of the bills and the payroll, we elected officers for this next year. And Mayor Kobinger will be the chair of the Fire Board for this coming year. And I believe, is it Brian is gonna be yep, Brian, okay, so Brian will be the vice chair, and then secretary, treasurer, bank, and newspaper will remain the same. We had some discussion on the accounts payable procedure, kind of looking to document that as well. We also had we did have an issue with some of a payroll banking issue that we talked through at some length there, and getting some information on that. And I guess I wasn't there for the report card. Was that anything?
No, I think Mr. Ebensteiner already covered that, so.
Okay, and that's what I got.
All right, any questions on Fire Board? Awesome. Rick's up again for Planning Commission, I believe.
Planning Commission, same night, I went from there over to this one, so, Monday, January 27th, 6 PM right here was that meeting. And we elected our officers for the year there as well. Let's see, we had the, so item, number 8B on our agenda for tonight, we had a public hearing for that, that's the, outdoor sales. We'll save, discussion for that, and then, we had a public hearing that was continued from the December meeting. It's gonna continue to the, February as well, and that was on, it was subdivision, there was some plating stuff, so, getting some more information on it, so, and there isn't a, we're not like up against the time clock on it, so one of those things we'd rather, we brought it back for more discussion, and we're gonna, send staff back, and they're gonna bring us back some more stuff, so since there's no urgency, you know, let's take our time and do it right, so.
Sounds great. Any questions for Rick? Joint Planning Board, I believe we met last Tuesday. Does that sound about right, Robin? Really two big items. We had one boundary lot adjustment, which was between a family with the project on 97th, I think. Does that sound right? Is that the road we built last year? So, yep. And then we looked at the container storage as well, and did pass that ordinance for container storage within the township.
Are those allowed now?
It is. Yep, there was some conditions placed on it in terms of size. I think 40 foot was the largest structure. And really with some of the conditions, they might not necessarily look like container storage because the painting and the things that they have to do with it are, make them look maybe more like.
Some people make them look like houses.
Yes, right, yeah, we did talk about that. They are building houses out of them now. Any other questions about joint planning? All right. Move on then to board committee and consultant reports, fourth quarter financial report. Mr. Ebensteiner.
Thank you, Mayor Council. So, yeah, just here to give you a snapshot of the fourth quarter financials. We're right in the midst of audit prep, so these are subject to change, but kind of a snapshot in time where we are on a preliminary standpoint as of now. So, starting with the general fund, tax revenues ended up December at a little over 98%. As a reminder, those flow to the city after collection by the county. We do receive an additional amount in January, so we did get some additional late January. So collections totaled 99.85%, so nearing right around 100%. Otherwise, on the revenue side, just note interest revenue, a really strong year. That's been something we've been discussing at Budget and Finance. So came in at 146,000. Initially, it budgeted for 55,000. So we have increased that budget amount as we went through the budget process this year, but just some really strong interest rate environment out there. So great to see. Expenditure side, 91.2% of budget through the year on expenses. Really, the only line item that was over budget was in fire aid, but that's really just a pass-through. So we did get more aid and then remitted that over to fire. So with that, just wanted to touch general fund. As a reminder, we do have a policy of maintaining 60% of fund balance of the following year's expenditures. Really for cash flow, we do receive our tax collections mid-year and then later in the year, so you really need that, since we are so reliant on the tax collections, need a larger sum to carry us through. With now reporting the community center, we did budget to bring the community center into the general fund for 2025, which accounts for a little over 1.4 million of expenditures. Based on the preliminary numbers, we should continue to maintain that goal. Which is great to see. Prior to that, with the community center standing on its own, it was really tough to bolster up reserves in that fund, but with bringing it over, we'll be able to maintain that 60% within the general fund to next year's expenditures. EDA fund, their revenues, once again, largely tied to property taxes, collections coming in at 99%. We did receive the $250,000 Rockefeller grant. And you've seen a lot of that throughout the year with some of the stuff that Jacobs and his staff are working on. We did get an extension through March and May on those 2 grants that came in, so you'll see a lot of activity here over the next few months. And then expenditures are favorable at 105%. Really, that over expenditure is directly related to some of those grant funds that came in as well. Community Center Fund, user fees and other revenue for the community center ended up at 102% of budget, so great to see. Definitely favorable and reflect the rebound in memberships that Bart and his staff are doing up there. Expenditures are as expected, right at 99.88% throughout the year. So still doing some final audit adjustments, but great to see where the community center ended the year. Golf course as well, to note, no operating tax levy once again for the golf course fund. Revenues are at 105.5% of budget overall. Ops came in very strong with the quantity of rounds that were played up there at 116%, and food and beverage right behind had a strong year at 96% of budget expectations. So overall, they played more rounds, had a little more expense, so expenditures came in at 103% of budget. So great results there with Josh and his staff. So they're currently performing and looking to about $150,000 of income added to the bottom line. So great to see the golf course operations this year. Water fund, transitioning over to the enterprise side. Revenues are slightly behind the overall budget at 97%. Really had a wet June and July that we discussed through the year. So utility charges at 91%, and then some of the other revenues, had really strong interest income, and then did have water access connections that came in later in the year that really bumped us up. So great to see there. And then expenses at 68% of total year budget. Really on the enterprise side, really capital heavy, and Chris and some of his staff, working through some of those projects. Just with sourcing and getting those projects rolling. So we'll see a lot of activity here in '25 as some of those projects roll into the new fiscal year. Wastewater fund, there we have the domestic and industrial. Starting with domestic fund, a little behind budget as well. We had budgeted for some leachate fees that didn't come to fruition, but still had a strong year. Total revenue at 92.6%. And there again, expenses at 64 with a lot of capital projects that will be coming down the pipeline here as well. And then industrial wastewater revenues tracking right in line with expectation. Revenues at 97% and expenses at 90%. And then once again, just a reminder, these are preliminary. So we did review these at the last budget and finance, but as we progress through the audit process, we'll bring those figures back to budget and finance as we get through the audit, and then bring that back as a final presentation once the audit is wrapped up. With that, I can take any questions, but appreciate the opportunity.
Any questions for Mark?
No.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, interim use permit for outdoor sales. Mr. Peterson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your time tonight. Tonight we have a request for an interim use permit for outdoor sales at 12908 First Street Southeast. And I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Mackenzie Cack, and the property owner, Kyle Haller. So some background on this one is the applicant has submitted a complete IUP application to allow outdoor sales of portable sheds at this location. So Mackenzie Cack is an authorized dealer for Premier Sheds, and the business will operate as a display lot for sales that you can see on Exhibit A. Customers will be able to view these sheds on site, but all the sales will be conducted remotely and by appointment only. There will be no permanent office space for the applicant at this time. So this property is located within the C Highway or Commercial Highway zoning district, where outdoor sales are allowed through an interim use permit. Previously, this site was used for outdoor sales, but staff couldn't find any sort of CUP or IUP. I believe it was also a previous property owner as well. So Planning Commission on January 27th actually held a public hearing. There was no public comment received in writing, but the applicant did speak and answered a few questions from the commission at that time. Planning Commission reviewed the request and recommended approval of the IUP via PC Resolution 2501. Some of the key findings there were that this proposed use aligns with the Becker 2040 Comprehensive Plan, which supports economic diversity. The outdoor sales will not alter the character of the surrounding area. The site has sufficient access to utilities and roads. Then the proposed use will not create any congestion or public safety concern. So some conditions of approval that staff has outlined are that this IUP will terminate December 31st, 2029. Sales must be by appointment only, but the property owner or a designated representative may be on site to provide any information. The display area must be maintained in a neat and orderly condition. Compliance with city code and zoning regulations is required. Any future site changes impacting drainage or runoff would need to have the city engineer review that. And then all parking areas must be maintained to ensure any proper traffic flow. And then the last one is that the IUP can be revoked if any of these conditions aren't met. And so at this time, I would request a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2507 as amended. The only thing I do want to touch on actually is there was a condition in the resolution from Planning Commission that discussed hours of operation, and staff, after reviewing that, decided that wasn't needed and wasn't necessary. So it wasn't actually brought up at the Planning Commission meeting, just to note that. But I can stand for any questions.
So you said as amended, that was the amendment, or what was the
Yes,
amendment?
sorry, yes, that was the amendment, yes.
Any other questions for Austin? Planning Commission reviewed it, obviously.
Yep. We were good with it.
Okay,
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion. Motion to approve interim use permit for outdoor sales, resolution 2507.
okay, we have a motion from Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Robin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. That carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. It looks like we're on to administrator and staff reports, the wastewater treatment facility storage building roof replacement. Mr. Lisson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, for your consideration of an RCA and resolution 2511 for the storage building roof replacement. I did include an overhead in the packet for you, so you could see the buildings outlined in red in case you weren't sure which building it was. We did have staff reach out and get quotes for this project. The storage building itself was built in 2003, so we expect roughly a 20-year lifespan out of that roof. We've gotten that time from that roof, and it is time to replace it. We did get two bids. One was from All Elements Incorporated for a Duralast PVC roofing system. The other was from Royal Roofing for an EDPM adhered membrane roofing system. Basic differences: the Duralast system is a 20 to 25-year roof system. It comes with a 20-year warranty. The EDPM system is approximately a 15 to 20-year roofing system, comes with a 15-year warranty. So based on the pricing, the warranty time frame, and the lifespan of the different products, our recommendation to council would be we go with the Duralast PVC roofing system. We did budget for this project. It was split between the domestic and industrial CIPs. Thankfully, the pricing for roofing has come down since the COVID era, so we're seeing better pricing now than we did a few years ago, so that was nice. So with that, what I'm looking for tonight would be a motion and second to adopt Resolution 2511, approving the proposal from All Elements Incorporated to replace that storage building roof for the price of their quote of $104,863 and not to exceed $115,400, which would be that cost, plus a 10% contingency in case there's any leaks or anything that we were unaware of that would require a little extra attention. The other reason I'm bringing this tonight, we're doing the HVAC storage upgrade on that same building. The Mammoth unit is going to be replaced with a smaller unit. So if you are inclined to approve this tonight, then we can get these two contractors together, the HVAC people and the roofing people, and we can have them work together and just replace it. We don't have to do any patching or have any open roofs or any of that kind of thing. So we're trying to coordinate the two projects together and hopefully be as efficient as possible. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris?
I have one just quick. So this other, so these appear to be two different types of roof. So the one that you're suggesting that we go with, the PV, is that a proven technology? I mean, it has a longer warranty, but is it
Yep.
actually, it's something that's been out for a little bit? It's.
Yeah, and the things that I read online, I mean, it's proven itself to be a slightly longer lasting roofing system than the regular EDPM system. Some of the things I was reading was they could go up to 30 years. When I talked to the gentleman from All Elements, he wouldn't say a year much beyond 20, but I got the impression that he was comfortable if you took care of it, inspected it regularly, it would be a good lasting roofing system. I was gonna say something. Well, this is actually the same system we put on the press building last year, so it's only been there a year, so I can't tell you it's 20 or 25 or what it might get yet, but they did a good job with that roof last year. We haven't had any issues with it yet, so based on all the research we've done, it feels like it's a slightly longer lasting product. I think a lot of that, again, would depend upon the weather it has to see, and, you know, it seems like keeping the moisture off, and so with all these processes with our roofs, and we've got a lot of flat roofs at the wastewater facility, which I'd prefer sloped roofs because it's easier, but that's what we got. So we're gonna have staff start to do kind of an annual inspection, just to make sure that all the drains are open, we're not having any water sitting up there, check around penetrations. If there's any issues that we can address in the interim between the end of its life, that would extend that life, that would be our goal, so. And then we'll also, in talking with some of the contractors, we'll look at every 5 years roughly to have somebody outside of our staff come in and just look at them and kind of do the same thing, but with a more expert eye than just what staff are. So trying to keep on top of these things, and if there's any issues that come up, we don't catch it after it was there for 6, 7 years, and then we have a bigger problem. So that's our goal with that, so. Yeah.
You mentioned checking it periodically. That isn't like the old roofs where if you walk on it starts leaking?
No, so there are paths that are kind of installed, so there's walking paths if you have HVAC equipment, so they put pads in there that you're supposed to stay on. You can walk off of them, but the one contractor said that there was a casino that put this PVC system on, but they drove four-wheelers on the roof because they were doing other maintenance. He strongly suggested not doing that, but if you don't do that, even some walking off of those pads is okay. So, yep, it's not like if you step away, you're gonna make a hole. They're fairly durable, yep.
I want to sign up. I want to drive the four-wheeler on the roof. I mean,
He said there was 4 of them, and they were hauling rocks from one part to another, and he's just like, why wouldn't you put plywood down, but,
well, if you need volunteers, you let me know.
okay,
on that
we'll
one.
do, drive across the roof,
Casinos, they got money, right?
yeah. I just thought that was a fun story, and I'm like, really?
Great. All right. Any other questions for Chris? Hearing none, entertain a motion at this time for Resolution 2511.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2511, approving wastewater storage building roof replacement.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Mike, seconded by Robin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, the bid award for the Becker Community Center HVAC system, Mr. Knutson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In front of you tonight, we're looking for movement on the bid award for the library unit at the community center. Back in January, you guys authorized us to take this project out for bid. We've done this outside of engineering. Staff just felt that holding a mandatory pre-bid meeting and having the contractors show up because we're replacing like for like, we could avoid those costs and get a hands-on look at where we're at. So that meeting was conducted. We had 3 contractors that showed up to take a look at the project. Of those 3 contractors, one of them submitted a bid in the timely fashion, or when the bids were due. So that's unfortunate. The good news is it's McDowell Companies who won the last bid when we replaced 2 of the units. We combined them, much more technical than this unit, but they were the low bid on that project, and they're the low bid on this project as well, obviously being the only bidder. The good news is we did have $270,000 budgeted in our CIP for this unit, and their bid come back in just under $207,000. So very comfortable with where they're at, very confident that they can execute the project, and staff would recommend that you guys move forward with allowing us to authorize that bid award with them. So the timeline, as I talked with their project manager, they're estimating 12 to 16 weeks lead time for the unit. Nothing firm until we actually place the order, and we'll go from there. So if we move forward, we'll time that with the weather. We'd like to try and hit it before it gets too hot. If we miss that window, we'll limp the one that we've got along until we get into the fall, and then replace it so we can eliminate some of that July, August timeframe. And it is the library. There's no other ventilation there. We'd have to rely on fans and Mother Nature. So, but with that, I can stand for any questions. Otherwise, looking for movement on Resolution 2510.
All right, any questions for Phil?
With it being a like for like, what do they anticipate, once everything's ready to go, what do they anticipate as the installation times, like a week?
A week, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, give or take the weather, I mean, the outside condensing unit, but for the most part, they can set everything and move with it. It shouldn't disrupt the business. We'll work around the library schedule as we take the unit out of, it's in a closet in the library right now, so we'll have to pull that out, but we can work around the library schedule. So, like I said, the good thing is McDowell had to work around a lot more stuff at the last one, so they're very familiar with this and the control system that we have to put back in place. So we can make it work without many disturbances to any of the patrons, especially the library.
None of the overhead crane
Those-
units?
Nope, ground mount unit, or it'll be wheeled in and placed back in the closet. So, yeah. I'm not gonna say it's super simple, but much easier than what we just went through last year, so.
Great. And that, the unit that's on there is original, so that's over 30 years old.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. And this is exclusive to the library. That's what it serves, so.
Okay. All right, not hearing any other questions. Anyone want to make a motion for Resolution 2510?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2510, awarding the bid to McDowell Company for the air handling and air conditioning replacement for the Becker Community Center.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Robin, a second by Rick. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, and it looks like you're up again, Mr. Knutson, with the purchase agreement authorization on the park.
Yes, so at our last work session, we discussed with council the property over by Fossum Fields for park. And the direction was given to seek a quote for an appraisal on that property. In my old age, I forgot that we actually did an appraisal on that in 2022 when we were looking at the property prior to the family splitting that lot. So with that, I pulled that back up. I took a look at that. That number gets us very close to the number that the seller is asking for that property. I reached out to legal to confirm that is that apples to apples. Can we use that document? And because of the age of the document and that it was in line or at or about slightly higher than what their asking price is, they feel that there could be no compelling argument to say that land valuation has dropped below where that's at. In all likelihood, the land has gone up, even if you just put a small inflationary factor on that. So they felt comfortable that we could use that as a supporting document to justify the price for that. So with that, instead of coming back looking for movement on an appraisal, we're looking to seek permission to enter in or negotiate a purchase agreement for the selling price. So to do that doesn't cost us anything unless we execute that purchase agreement, and then it would come back to that amount we had in our CIP, even though it was in an out year. we would look to bring that in, but not reset the whole CIP. We would just have different spend years or accelerate a spend year because we have a sufficient balance in there, and we would just move that up 2 years and then forego it in 2027, so to speak. So with that, that's what we're looking for, to move it out there, or you say nay, and we're done, we're stopped looking for parkland over in that neck of the woods. So this is an optimum property. We know it's a deficient area in the park system that we've got, but it's your wish on how we proceed.
So you're looking for a motion to approve you to
work with legal to enter into, to negotiate a purchase agreement and work with the Hubbard family on securing that property for the city for the purposes of a park.
Sure.
It's a good parcel for a park.
It gives us a lot of flexibility over there. It would give us adequate parking. It could incorporate green space into that area as well. So a lot of things we could do over there, and quite frankly, serve an area that's been underserved for many, many years. So.
Any other questions for Phil?
No.
Not, would anybody like to make a motion?
Make a motion, we approve authorization for negotiated purchase agreement with the Hubbard family on the potential parkland.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike, second by Becky. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. You have your authorization.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Post office support, I'm gonna take that one. We talked a little bit about this, I think, last month with the ongoing post office issue going on. So Greg worked up a resolution for us, 2508, that basically says we support keeping the post office and all of the operations, which includes the delivery here in town. Greg did some research for us, did a very good job looking up some of the different things that the post office, you know, they have a 10-year strategic plan which calls for the best use of their transportation and processing network. It talks about some environmental factors. We know that moving our route drivers to Monticello would add approximately 1,000 miles a week to the mail and package delivery. So this resolution before you tonight calls on the post office people to work with us and to work with Mr. Rademacher, not him specifically, I guess, but just to keep it within the city, and to keep not only the operations, but the delivery piece here too. So Becker Township, just for your information, passed a similar resolution. They sent that over today. Their resolution specifically enlists the help of Congressman Emmer. So we are looking at a meeting next week on site. I will be there. Congressman Emmer's Director of Constituent Services, I think is her title, plans to be there to relay the message that the congressman is very interested in the decision that the post office makes, and would like to also make sure that we keep our level of service that we have. So if anybody has any questions, I could answer those. If not, then I would look for a motion to adopt Resolution 2508, which is a resolution supporting the new post office location in the city of Becker.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Rick, second by Mike. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. That resolution is passed. So just for the citizens to know that we are putting as much pressure as we can on the post office people who are coming out next week from the federal government, and letting them know that our expectation is that we keep our level of service and keep our delivery people here. So thank you very much for that. Now we're moving on to Ms. Mortensen and the consent agenda.
Mayor, council members, you have in front of you the consent agenda for February 4th. The consent agenda contains the hiring and termination report, which is a revised copy, Donation acceptance, Resolution 2509. It's a $7,000 donation from Becker Lions Club for Snuffy's Landing to install an AED. A new combination massage therapist establishment license for Zen Life Massage. And a partial pay request number 7 for APX Construction Group LLC for 2024 City Hall PD renovation. The construction contract amount is $5,997,799.36. The partial payment request is in the amount of $508,890.04, leaving a construction contract amount of $2,385,990.54. And I will entertain any questions.
Any questions on the consent agenda? Phil, maybe you'll know this, the AED that's gonna go out there, is that gonna be the kiosk style that has all the latest and greatest technology, I'm assuming, for keeping it warm in the winter, and GPS locator, cause it's kind of in a little bit of a
Yes.
less populated area?
Yes, it'll be very similar or almost identical to what was just placed at the Becker City Park and Cobinger Park. The Lions donated funds for that as well. This one is a little bit ahead of our schedule because we're working with staff. Now that we've got the lights out there on 115th on the way out to Snuffy's, we're actually trenching that to bring power to the pavilion. So the Lions contributed these funds a little bit ahead of our plan, but we're hoping this spring to get power down there, and then we'll use that power to tie into this AED, but it'll be identical to what's at Cobinger Park and Becker City Park.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
Awesome, great thing to have. And the Lions continue to come through for us. Thank you so much. Look then for a motion on the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Robin, seconded by Becky to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. And that motion carries. Need a motion to pay the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills?
Second?
Motion by Rick, second by Robin to pay the bills. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. And the bills are paid. Anniversary announcements, kind of a long list. Speaking of Miss Mortensen, Shannon has been here now for a year as the city clerk and HR safety and risk manager. Congratulations.
Time flies.
Right. Anthony Nergang in the back room there, our admin assistant who's helping us out with videotaping. Tonight, 6 years. Christine Olin, our accounting technician, 8 years. David Rydberg from the police department for 8 years. Michael Behringer from the water department, 25 years. Matthew Keller from the sewer department, 2 years. Christopher Kroll from the sewer department, 7 years. Robert Ryerson, wastewater treatment facility operator for 20 years. And some part-time employees, Grant Janssens from police for 5 years, Emily Keenan at the community center 5 years, and Kimberly Riley from the golf course for 5 years. So congratulations to all those employees on their anniversary dates. Thank you for your continued service to the city of Becker. We appreciate you. Anybody have anything else to bring before council this evening? Not? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second. Motion by Mike, seconded by Rick. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state no. Meeting adjourned at 5:39, and we do not have an executive session tonight. Thank you, everybody.